Hi there, and I've got a huge amount of yellow and black parts on my desk, so that only means one thing. Today I'm building some parts for my upscaled mini loader. Now, although there's been a couple of videos in this series so far, this one will be the first one where I actually start building parts of the loader itself. Previous videos we've built the workman's helmet and also his chevron vest. But before I start building, the usual shout out to all my channel members. Thank you ever so much for your support. And if you're interested in getting your name on a brick at the start of my videos, you can click on the join button below or the link in the description and you can find out about my channel membership. But let's start building some parts of the mini loader. Now, as I've said, the only parts we've built so far are the workman's helmet and his stripy chevron vest. And I did get some comments on the previous videos saying that the upscaled figure has a red torso and blue legs, whereas the actual figure from the set had a blue torso and black legs. And that's because just for now I'm using Lego's own upscaled minifig set as a basis, so I could just build the helmet and the chevron vest around it. And at some point I'm going to build a blue torso and black legs to go with the actual set. But because those two parts are just part of a regular Lego set, I thought it'd be a fairly dull video of me building them on camera. So that's something I'll do later on when the loader's finished. Now, some of the parts for the upscaled mini loader I built for my upscaled space buggy, and namely those are the steering wheel and also the wheel sets underneath. So today we're going to build 4 parts of the mini loader, and I'm also going to give you a sneak preview on how I'm going to build that bucket at the front. So hang around to the end because you definitely don't want to miss that. And those 4 parts are going to be firstly the 4x4 yellow plate, which is used as the base of the loader, the 2x3 black plate which sits on top of it, and the 2 1x1 round bricks which are the engine's exhaust pipes. Now, when the mini loader won the vote on my community page to be the next set that I would build in an upscaled version, I thought it was always going to be that bucket which would be the biggest problem. I never imagined that this little 1x1 round brick would be as much trouble as it is. Now, from my previous space buggy build, we know that a 1x1 becomes a 6x6, and there are plenty of round pieces in 6x6 size. Now, one really good piece to use is a 3x3 curved panel which is 2 bricks high. However, it's only just come out in black and they're about £1.50 each. So that means for one complete circle it would cost £6, and for 3 layers of height for that would be £18. So I thought a little bit expensive, especially as there aren't that many around for sale in the UK. So needing more pieces but a little bit more sturdy is the 3x3 round corner brick. Again, we'd need 4 for 1 layer, and we'd need 6 layers of them, but again they have only just come out in the dancing figure set. And right now there's only 4 on sale in the UK and they cost £1.69 each. So even putting the price aside, I can only buy 4 of them. So for a slightly more clunky solution but a lot cheaper solution, I'm going to use these, and they are 6x6 round plates. Now I'm going to have to stack an awful lot of these up on top of each other, so it's going to be quite heavy. However, these only cost 4 or 5p each, so it's a much cheaper solution. So as everything gets scaled up 6 times, we obviously need this to be 6 bricks high with the stud on top as well. However, we do take 1 brick off for that slightly indented bit at the bottom. So the main body of this is going to be 5 bricks high, and we know that a brick is also 3 plates, so 5 threes are 15 of these. However, we do want the top of these to be smooth, so although we're going to need a height of 15 plates, the top one is actually going to be a layer of tiles, so we're going to need 14 of these, then with tiles on top. And a stack of 14 of them looks like this. So the next thing to do is to add those quarter circle 3x3 tiles on the top. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that's the smooth edge. And although this piece is actually hollow down the middle, we can't actually replicate that using these pieces here. So we're going to make as much of a dent as we can as possible, but it's not going to be hollow all the way down. So what we're going to do is then add some of these 4x4 round plates. So I'm going to add 1 there to bring that level up to the same. Then we're going to add 2 more on top, like that. Then of course we're going to smooth that off as well with some smaller macaroni tiles. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. So yes, it goes down in there slightly by the height of 4 plates, but not all the way through the middle of the brick. Now, if you followed me building my upscaled space buggy, and if you didn't, I'll put a link in the description below, you'll know that these pieces were really useful to do the studs on top. And they are 4x4, but they have this slight hollow in the middle, which you can fill in with a 3x3 round tile. So what we're going to use, these also come in black handily, so we're going to use that for the indented part on the bottom. Now, as the top of this one isn't going to be seen, we don't need to use that 3x3 round tile in the top, but what we are going to do is fill it up with a couple of 2x2 plates. Then that brings its height up to the same height as its edges. And then we can just pop that in the middle of this here. If I can get it to sit in the middle. There we go. And that is our 1x1 round brick. But obviously we need 2 of them. So here's the second one. And so we're going to move on to the next black part, which is the 2x3 plate. So scaling up a 2x3 plate, we will end up with a piece which is going to be 18 by 12 studs. And for that, I'm going to use 4 of these 6x8 plates and 2 2x6 plates in the middle. And we've put all those together. We've got our 12 by 18 plate. And if we flip all of those upside down, first of all, we're going to run a layer of bricks around the outside. So if we get some 1x4s, I'm going to put 1 in each corner, like that. I'm going to fill all the gaps in with 1x10s. So 1 across the back holding those together, 1 across the front holding these together, and then 1 on each end. That's the holds the whole thing together. Now scaling everything up by 6, 1 plate becomes 6 plates. We know we've got 3 in this layer of bricks. We've got 1 up here. We're going to have 1 with the tile layer at the top. So we're going to add another layer of plates underneath, and that'll give us our height of 6. So I've got some 1x8s and some 1x6 plates. I'm going to put the 1x6s along the ends, like that, and then run the 1x8s down the sides. 6s on this end again, and 8s along the other side. And because we've crossed the joints in different places, that's a lot more sturdy. The only thing is, the middle bit is a little bit flimsy. Now normally for an upscale plate, what I do is add 2x4 tiles in a little square like this. And that's covering an area obviously of 6x6, and that would be the size of 1x1. And then we'd put a 2x2 plate in the middle, ready for the stud, and then we just duplicate that everywhere. However, we are going to have our 2 1x1 round bricks sitting here and here, and we want to keep some studs open so they can have a nice firm grip onto our plate below. So what I've done, I've covered most of the top in 2x4 tiles, but you'll notice in every 6x6 area, I've got a 2x4 missing. So effectively, there should be 1 there, there should be 1 here, there should be 1 there, there should be 1 there, and in the middle, I've had to leave out a couple of extras. So what we're going to do first is put down our 2x2 plates, so we know where our stud's going to be. Then we're going to be able to fill in the tiles around them. So it's easy to spot where the corner ones go. We've got 1 there, 1 here, 1 in the lower left corner, and 1 in the upper left corner. Then obviously we're going to need 2 in the middle as well. So we're going to have another 2x2 plate there and 1 here. Then what we can do is next door to those, we can add some 2x2 tiles. So I've got 6 2x2 tiles, and each one of the 2x2 plates is going to have a tile next door to it. So that one goes there, one next door to that one up there, and similarly up there, and then above this one, next door to that one, and lastly next door to that one. So we're completely covered apart from this area in the middle. Now the 1x1 round bricks need an area of 4x4, and that's going to be here and here. So we can also stick a 2x4 tile in the middle like that, and then our rounds are going to go here. But we don't want to see those studs on the corner. We do want to keep some studs here in a cross shape, but we're going to put 1x1 tiles in the corner of each of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So with all those tiles in place, now when the curve sits on top, you won't see studs on the corners, but we do need to put plates in the middle. And for them, we're going to add a 2x4 acrossways, like that. Then I've got some 1x2s, which are just going to go above and below. Oh, that one didn't come off. Like that. So we're now all at the same level. We've got our 2x2s ready for our studs. We've got these 4x4 crosses in the middle ready for our bricks. So I'm going to make the studs just as I did for the grey upscaled space buggy. We're going to use one of these wonderful 4x4 round bricks, put 1 plate in the middle, and then a 3x3 round tile, and that gives us our stud. Now we just need to do it for the other 5. And now we can put our 6 studs on top of our plate. And they easily pop on the 2x2s. You just need to twist them around until you get the orientation right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it doesn't want to find its place. 5, 6. And we've got our 2x3 plate with some gaps in the middle for the 1x1 round bricks. So that's the black parts made. We just need an awful lot of yellow parts to make the 4x4 plate now. So moving on to the 4x4 yellow plate, 4x4 scales up to 24 by 24, and the handy thing about 24 is that it's divisible by 4 and by 6. So this piece is really useful, because it means I can build the base of this piece out of an awful lot of the same part. And this is what 24 4x6 plates looks like. Now, just like the 2x3, we're going to run a row of bricks all the way around the outside, but for strength we're going to try and cross over these joins as much as possible. So on the first edge down here, we're going to leave a gap on the end. We're going to have a 1x2, and then we're going to do 3 1x6s. Like that, and then a 1x2 on the other end, and that holds our first row together. And we're going to do exactly the same on the other end. So again, a 1x2, 3 1x6s, and a 1x2. We've got both our ends sorted, we just need to go across the top and bottom. So down here we're going to use a 1x6, and then a 1x8, a 1x4, and then another 1x6. And now we're starting to get somewhere. And down the other end exactly the same, 1x6, 1x8, 1x4, and 1x6. And now we've got a complete donut. Now underneath we are going to need some extra structural support. So what I'm going to do is run a layer of plates down here. So I've got a 2x4 there. Then we're going to add 3 4x6s. 1, 2, 3. And then another 2x4 at the other end. Like that. Then to fill in this gap down the middle, not down the middle, down the edge, I've got some 1x8s at each end. Like that, and I need to stick a 1x6 in the middle. And with all of those in place, that's 2 more of the 4x6 plates which are secured. So if I do the same to the other side, it'll just mean these 4 plates in the middle which won't be attached to anything. Now on the actual loader, the 4x4 plate sits on this plate, or these plates, which are 2 studs wide. We've got a 1x2 here and a 2x4 here, which is the hinge piece for the bucket piece itself. So we are going to need some supports down here for those 1x2 and the 2x4 to attach to. So just inside this row of plates, we're going to add a 2x8 brick, a 2x6 brick, and another 2x8. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. 2x8, 2x6, and another 2x8, and that is 12 studs wide. So that's where our 1x2 and our 2x4 plate is going to attach to. But just like with the 2x3 plate, we also need that extra layer of plates running around on top of the bricks. So that's what we're going to do around the edge now, run another layer of plates around the edge. So I'm going to run 3 1x8s down this side, 1, 2, 3, and as before, making sure our plates are crossing over the joints of the bricks. Do the same the other end. 3 1x8s, like that, and then if we sort those plates out in the middle, and then across the ends we're going to use 2 1x8s and a 1x6 in the middle, and same on the other end, 1x8, 1x6, 1x8. But we're also going to add some plates down these 2x2 bricks to give us our support for the plates that go in the middle. And for those we're going to go 4, 6, 8, 4. So 2x4s, 2x6, 2x8, and on the other end, 2x4s. So we've now got a nice firm structure. However, those 4 plates in the middle are still causing us a slight problem. So we are going to add some strengthening structure down the middle, but I do now have to give some of my viewers a wrong colour trigger warning. Now, I obviously buy my parts and I have a budget just like everyone else, and yellow is slightly more expensive than some other colours. So I'm afraid we're putting blue in the middle. We've got a 2x6 going down there, a 4x6 plate, another 2x6 brick. Oopsie, didn't fit on. There we go. 4x6 plate, 2x6 brick, 4x6 plate, and a 2x6 brick. And that gives us our strengthening to keep those 4 plates in the middle, but it is going to get covered up. It's never going to get seen. I know we all know there's blue in the middle, but try and forget about it. Now, of course, we've got to add studs to this surface and make it a nice smooth tiled surface. However, this corner is going to have a large plate on it, so we don't need to worry about tiles in here, but we are going to need to put plates on there, so this has got something to stick onto. So we're going to plate off some of this area, and we're going to add some 2x6s down there, which is the width of our plate. Then we're going to add some more of these wonderful 4x6s down the edge, like that. And then again, another colour because it's never going to get seen. Got some 2x8s and a 2x4, and that's the size of our plate here. And then, like I said, with the 2x3 black plate, we're going to add every 6x6 for these 2x4 tiles and a 2x2 plate in the middle. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and a plate in the middle, and that's our attachment point for our stud. And we're going to replicate that all over the rest of the plate. So I've got a large bag of 2x4 tiles and a little stack of 2x2 plates. I'm going to do that in one quick pop. Then we're completely ready for our yellow studs. But this piece doesn't come in yellow. So because that round brick piece doesn't exist in yellow, I could have used a regular round 4x4 round brick. However, that would have given us a studded surface on top. So what I'm going to have to do is build them up using plates. So we need 2 4x4 round plates like this. And then we're going to stick a 2x2 round tile in the middle. And then 4 2x2 macaroni tiles around the outside, like that. And that's the only way we can make a yellow stud, and then that will obviously sit on there like that. And now we need a lot more, so I've built a lot more, and here they are. We can attach all of those onto their 2x2s, running along the bottom like this. Next row like that, and then the last 2 up the top. And we've got our 4x4 plate with a little gap for our 2x3. So the bit we've all been waiting for, we've got a 4x4, we're going to add a 2x3, then we're going to add a 1x1 brick in the middle, like that, and another 1x1 brick. Oh, if the other one doesn't fall off first, like that. And now we're going to do the same in upscale. So we've got our 2x3, and that's going to need a huge press down like that. And we've got our bricks, which once they're turned around onto the studs, they sit in beautifully like that. And we've got our mini version, and we've got our upscaled version. And if we compare the mini loader with the space buggy that I built earlier on this year, you can see it's going to be significantly bigger, and I think we can already see that this is going to be a pretty massive build. But before I sign off, I did promise that I'm going to show you my work on the bucket piece. Now this is in rainbow bricks because apparently I don't have quite enough yellow in my spare parts. But if we have a look at the original, you can see we've got this flat part in there, then we slope up. Obviously it's smoothed off in every direction, and then we've got our hinge piece down here. So what we've got smooth edges down here. This is built with plates and hinges underneath, and then we're going to smooth everything off with tiles. And then to get this plate running along the top, we've got some hinge pieces here, and all they're doing is holding this sort of the plate structure along to the top rail. And if we have a close-up look at the original bucket piece, hopefully you can see that I've got pretty much the right profile for the upscaled version. So that means we've built the 4x4, the 2x3 and the 1x1, so that's all this done. We've got all these pieces still to do. So we've got 2 1x2 plates, and that's a black and a yellow one, a black 2x4 plate, a yellow 1x2 brick. I've never built an actual upscaled regular brick before. Then we've got our steering wheel and our wheels, which we've built once before for the upscaled space buggy. We just got those obviously in a different colour. Then our last of all, we've got our bucket, which we've got a small part of in rainbow bricks at the moment, but we've got to build all of that in yellow, and also the 2x4 plate with the hinge on the end, which attaches to it. So I've now got designs and wanted lists for all these parts apart from the 2x4 hinge plate. And I've just got a little bit more work to do on that before it's ready to go. But the piece count for this build, and therefore the budget for this build, is starting to get quite big. But as soon as budget allows, I'll be ordering more parts, and I imagine maybe this will be a video, the wheels of the steering wheel will be a video, and then the bucket and the hinge piece will be a last video, and then we can put the whole thing together. So with the mini loader sitting on top of the first parts of the upscaled version, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you'd like to support the channel and get your name on a brick, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking on the join button below the video or the link in the description. If you've liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up, it helps me out. But of course, please subscribe for more LEGO videos.